this is a last minute thought, and I thought it would be great. So today I'm going to be discussing why I like two of Sarah J. Maas's series, A Court of Thorns and Roses and Throne of Glass, so goddamn much, especially him highlighting on, well, it's basically how gay can these books get. Conclusion, Sarah J. Maas is definitely an ally. There are a lot of references to being homosexual and being LGBT+ in her books, and I love it. We're also going to be talking about why I love the books as a whole. So, A Court of Thorns and Roses. Human girl shoots a fae wolf, and she falls in love with this fae guy from this one court, and it's really cliche, and in the book they're fated to get married. Flash forward to the next book, and at the end of the book she stops being human and becomes fae. Major spoilers. So then, in the next flash forward to the next book, shit is going down. In order to put up a unified front, basically what happens is Feyre is slowly deteriorating on the inside. Oh, and she made a deal with a guy who's supposed to be like evil and dark, who's actually hot in the first book to survive, and he calls this deal in to help her in the second book. Sorry, I don't know what I just got to pay for my dad. Sorry for that little blip. Anyway, moving on. And he calls in the deal and so on and so forth, and basically she's a really boss-ass bitch, and she meets some really boss-ass women. So we're gonna start with some gay shit in A Court of Thorns and Roses. So first thing I'd like to mention, I don't know which book it's in. Hold on, I'm actually using it to prop up. Okay, so it's in this one. The first one I could remember. There is a High Lord, the High Lord of Day? No, it's not Winter. I think it's High Lord of no, not Summer. That's Varian. Except it's not Varian. It's Darken. He mentions it at the beginning. Helion, Tamlin, Darken, Baron. I'll find it. I'm just gonna pause. Okay, so Thiessen is High Lord of Dawn Court. Okay, so Thiessen, he says that. Sorry about that. There's gonna be a lot of occasions like this because I am not an adult and I do not live on my own, sadly. So it's on page 401 in my book in the beginning of chapter 3. Rhys says through mind link to Feyre, who's the other girl, that the male on Thiessen's left is his captain and lover. It says male. Conclusion. Gay. When I saw this, I was just like, what? I was just like, oh. Inclusion of gayness. I mean, I already knew there was inclusion of gayness because of Throne of Glass, but inclusion of gayness, and I love it. How they're not sappy. They're not like squishy gay or anything like that. They're just like stone cold gay. And that's what I like about that one. And further into, I believe it's either this one, A Court of Wings and Ruin, which is the one I just pulled the quote from, or A Court of Frost and Starlight. It becomes apparent that Morrigan, or Moore as more commonly known, is lesbian, and her first lover was one of the human queens. And I'm just like, yes! And then we know that Azriel is still pining for her, and then we're like, frick! That's really sad. That's really heckin' sad. You know what would have been cool? If, like, Nesta was Ace. But we all know and hope that Nessian happens. I want that to happen. Nesta and Cassian, they're great, they're beautiful. So that's the gayness in this book. And there's a lot more to it in Throne of Glass. Okay, so long and short, Throne of Glass. Okay, so there's this otherworldly demon. Not Satan, but otherworldly demon. Basically made of darkness. And he comes blah, 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 blah. Okay, so flash forward to when he comes out, but he's not really known to come out, so nobody knows so he's in the closet. I'm sorry, I had to make it. So what happens is there's this 8-year-old princess, and her entire family gets murdered, and she gets taken in by an assassin king. She gets turned into an assassin, and then she gets captured and sent to a slave camp. And then she becomes the king's champion. Hey, this the king. He's not a good guy. The actual king of Adarlan is a good guy, but the actual man himself is good, but he's inhabited by a demon that makes him evil. And then she gets sent to Fae, and she discovers her powers, and so on and so forth, and they beat the guy. They beat the evil guy. Yay! Okay, so the first big gay thing, I think it's Malachi and Emery's. Hold on. Okay, so yes, it's Malachi and Emery's. I've looked it up, and it's on Throne of Glass. Malachi is a demi-fae and Emery's mate and husband, considered to be a warrior compared to Emery's. And they are, I guess, an elderly gay couple, and they're freaking adorable. Emery's is a kitchen. He works in the kitchen. His title is Story Keeper, and oh my goodness, he's just like Grandpa. It's just like he's kind of like that wise figure for Aelin/Selena in Heir of Fire, which I actually don't have with me, and that's a big sad. Ooh, there's another evidence of gay in here. Oh, I think it's Empire of Storms, that Rowan, who's in the story, he's one of the characters, Rowan. He has a cousin. His name is Eddie Minion. And I believe it's in here. Hold on, let me look. I'm not taking that much time to do this because I want to explain a lot more of why I like the books. Okay, it's not Eddie Minion. Eddie Minion is a different one. I believe it's Edna? It's talked about very briefly and I couldn't find it. But yeah, he also gay. So, now we're gonna get on to past the gay parts. Oh wait, no, there is another one in A Court of Wings and Ruin. Reese mentioned not Aelin, two different stories. Feyre. Fuck you, Tamlin. Anyway, blah 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 blah. Okay. Hold on, let me find this. Found it. Reese says to Feyre through the mind link, Helion favors both males and females, usually together in his bed. Has been hounding after the trio for centuries. So that would make me think that Helion is bisexual or is pansexual as this work, okay? Because they really don't have a concept of like transgender or non-binary, but that's because it's a lot more complicated of a thing. And even if someone is transgender, it's not really mentioned, and they're usually absolutes, male or female, or they're just not mentioned. Like Edna is a dude. Just saying. From totally sidetracked, Edna, the gay cousin. The gay cousin from Throne of Glass. He's a dude, Edna's a dude. But you think Edna's a girl, but it's not. He's a dude, I'm pretty sure. Because they really have ultra feminine names. Not like Edna. They have really ultra feminine names, like Aelin, or Selena, or Celine, or Elide, or Manon. I'm gonna start doing this with my hands. So, Helion is very like, I think because it's together, he either likes threesomes, which is sneaky, or he's polyamorous, and that's also another good thing. Another flag under the belt of Sarah J. Maas. Thank you. Good night. Not really. So next thing, I'm going to talk about why I really, really like these books. So for A Court of Wings and Roses, the character starts off as human, and the first book is a classic kind of like lowly mixed with the highly kind of like complex. Hold on. Sorry about that. It's kind of like in those fan fictions where a fan falls in love with a pop star and the pop star falls in love with the fan, blah blah blah, all that stuff. But like,
Emma's calling you.
Okay, so now that's over. The reason I like it so much is because the first one is a classic love story complex. And it's really cute and really nice. And instead of the knight saving the damsel in distress, it's the damsel saving the knight who's in distress. And it's beautiful. And there are some heartstrings that get tugged. Like, this other guy, he kind of like, whatever. But he turns out to be a good guy, and in the second one, it ruins that perfect love story, but in such a way where it's just like perfect love stories don't exist, and it ruins that perfect love story between Tamlin and Feyre so well. I'm just like, this is great, because love stories are sappy. I hate love stories. And it twists it. And it gives her to a real insight in who people are. Like, don't judge a book by its cover. Because Rhys, he's always putting on this mask of he's dark, he's night, he's evil. And then when Feyre comes along, she kind of encourages to like show him that he's not a monster. And that type of thing. And I really like it. And then you throw in the war and a bunch of other stuff. And it's just great, and there's a lot of acting that going along, and I love how the fact that Sarah J. Maas incorporates the fact that even though overall you are good, you will do some evil. Like Feyre, she did a lot to destroy Tamlin's court, and she did a lot to bring him down. And he ended up kind of being a good guy, although he's quite bipolar. And it was, the way it was executed so good. And there's a recurring character who occurs once every book until he dies in A Court of Wings and Roses. The Suriel. I love that kind of Wikipedia. He kind of acts as Wikipedia, and I love it. Okay, so this video is getting long. So, the reason I like Throne of Glass so much is it's basically the same thing. There's a classic love story, and then it just gets shattered over and over again. And it's a really great, I'm sorry I'm speeding this up, I don't want to take too much time. It's a really great, like, the first book. It's Selena and Sam. Well, prologue, Selena and Sam. First book, Selena and Dorian. Second book, Selena and Cole, or Kaol, however you freaking say it. There's so many different ships, and you never know what's going on until the end, and that's why I love it. I absolutely love it, because it's a classic love story with real world put in, like, nothing's ever gonna last, like Kaol and Selena, and then it was Cole and Nesrin, and then he finally married Irene. And Dorian, it was like Selena, and then, oh, what's her name? Sasha or Sorsha. And then it was Manon, or kind of. And it was like a classic love story with a lot of like heartstrings being pulled, and you're just thrown into it, and it's not like a classic love story. It's a classic love story over and over again, because the first love story didn't work out. I love that, and there's a lot of action, and it's a really good book, and overall I would recommend it. You should read all of them. I'm obsessive. I started reading Throne of Glass in the end of 7th grade, and I finished it in the beginning of 9th grade. Yeah. Minus all the time it took to get the books. Oh, and I read A Court of Thorns and Roses, the first book, in 12 hours. I got it for Christmas, and I read it Christmas night, when I was supposed to be sleeping. Well, I technically think it was under 12 hours. So, that was my book review of A Court of Thorns and Roses and Throne of Glass. I hope you guys liked this video. I really liked messing around with this. And if you ever want to like ask me more questions about it, go ahead. I have the entire A Court of Thorns and Roses theory and the entire last year in Maas Air Fire because that was from my library. You know what would be a good video idea? Inventorying my books. That's all for now. Bye guys!